Welcome to session 3 of our series called Rescue People Do Life Together, where we're taking a look at 5 purposes, 5 rhythms, 5 practices that we see the early church model in Acts 2, verses 42 through 47. As we've talked about the past couple of weeks, those 5 rhythms are rhythms of worship, discipleship, fellowship, ministry, and evangelism. And today we're going to take a little bit deeper look at those last 2 practices of ministry and evangelism. And the first one we're talking about today is ministry, which we define as learning to serve others. And ministry can feel like a churchy word, but it really is simply service. And so what are some ways that your group has served one another? Mackenzie?
I think the simplest one I can think of is in the sense of a meal. So we get together on Sunday nights, we have a meal, and it seems really simple. I love to cook, love having people over and hosting, but I also, in our group, we have quite a few different dietary issues going on. And so just the fact that our group shows up every week and takes those into consideration, I see as a form of serving. It might be one person bringing 3 variations of the exact same thing to make sure that everybody gets that chance to enjoy and have that moment of just sitting down to a meal together. And so for us, I think that in its simplest form is how we serve each other.
I think one thing that came to my mind is several years ago, one of our group members showed up and her car, something was not acting right. And it was pitch black outside. And our whole group went out there, and one knew how to do this, and one knew how to do that, and one was holding a phone flashlight, over the, I was taking pictures, but it was a moment that, we got to serve people in a way that wasn't a normal way of serving. It was I can help you do this because I know that skill. And I know how to do this, so I can do that skill. One person fixed our dishwasher one time, and
I think we all pitch in for each other. It's knowing the season of life that we're in, the phase of life, that every little bit that we do for each other, it helps us. And I can't remember the last time that we did dishes after our group, just because it's, whether it's a combination of somebody just cleaning their stuff, cleaning all of it, just making sure it's loaded. It's just one of those, you get to the end of the night and look at an empty sink and you go, oh,
yes.
That's a relieving feeling just to move on in the bedtime routines. And so just all those little things that are huge things for us are awesome.
Another one is just by serving, by just showing up. One of our friends had a court date that it was a big deal, and 4 or 5 of them, they showed up. The court didn't even happen that day, but they showed up. And it was just a neat way to serve that family and know that they're loved by us as well. So that was kind of a neat way of different takes on servings. Now, they all serve together in kids on Sunday mornings or some spots across campus, but it's just neat just seeing how they use their gifts in all the different ways. Hosting a camera, running check-in, teaching a 4-year-old class. Those are just all the different ways that we serve each other and serve the church is cool. So
yeah, for us, some of the little ways, our group, we used to always meet at my house. And then one week somebody said, hey, instead of you guys having to do this every week, why don't we just start? We all have homes that we could, there's not many of us, we don't have kids, we can rotate. So now each week we rotate, one person hosts. So there's 7 groups. So it's once every 7 weeks. We cook the meal, and so each week whoever's hosting will cook the dinner for everybody, and we don't have to bring anything. It's just that, and that's one way of serving. But I remember one morning we woke up and there was a video that Stacy had posted, Stacy Swaby, of him going through his house, and it looked like a bad dream. Their house had been hit by a tornado. And we couldn't believe it. It's one of those things you see and we're like, we were just there a couple weeks ago. Wait, is this real? But our group immediately, everybody's banding together. But when we served him, helping them clean up and go through their stuff, it was their whole life for 20-something years, strewn out all over the yard. But it wasn't just our group. It was their CR group that was there and the church as a whole. And it was a beautiful picture of the body of Christ coming together to serve this bunch. But within that, seeing our little small group, and they even thanked us this past week as they're reminiscing about that and the importance of us showing up when they really needed it and serving each other.
You know, one of the things I love about group life is the ability to serve together, and how when you're serving with a group of people, kind of the impact isn't just additive, like 1 + 1 = 2, but it's almost exponential impact. What are some areas around the church maybe, or in our community, that groups can serve together?
I know one thing that's coming up is trunk or treat. Like hosting trunks together. There are several groups that we know every year they're going to show up with 3 or 4 vehicles that are the 101 Dalmatians or Mario or, you know, Jurassic Park. Like they come up with these themes, but I know like Josh's group, y'all served at trunk or treat in a different way.
Yeah, we did the help with the line management and the welcome team, and we will usually get our costumes and dress as a theme together. Like one year I was a farmer and everybody dressed as some farm animal, you know, just different weird stuff that we do, but it's fun, you know, every year getting to serve that way.
I thought that was just a regular Tuesday outfit for you.
For me it was, for everybody else no, but yeah.
I'll say, I think of the Covington Group, who they were at the beach together, their whole group, and they ran the Memorial Day Classic online, like virtually that way. That was a neat way to see a group serve together.
That's my favorite way to run a 5K is virtually. I virtually run 5Ks frequently. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. But I think one thing that's neat is the groups find ways to encourage their gifts. And to use their gifts to serve him. And I think like in your groups, and that people may not realize what their gifts are, and in these groups it seems to be a time that you can pull out like, oh, you're good at cooking, oh, like you're really good at being in front of people, and that's a cool moment in life group to encourage those gifts that you have to serve. So
Well, and even in the Sumner Center sense, like a food day, we've had student ministry there, but we've also just had groups that want to have an opportunity to serve together. So they'll either come to a food day or they'll come on an off day and pack boxes for food. They reach out just in general and they're like, hey, do you have somewhere we can go clean up? Do you have, what serving opportunities do you have? Always happy to help connect people, whether that's here at the church or just out in the community. It's cool seeing groups want to do those things together. So try my best to encourage and push that.
I'm glad you mentioned food days and some of those community events, because that helps us transition into our fifth rhythm or purpose, which is evangelism, which we define as learning to make Jesus known. And so oftentimes when we talk about evangelism, we think of sharing our testimony and sharing our faith, and that can be really scary. But I think this is a place where groups can support one another. How can groups help one another share their faith, share their story?
I think for us, it's seeing it in our children, and seeing the fact that because we have committed ourselves in our life to as close as we can that Acts 2 model, it's showing itself in the things that our son gets excited about. Kind of embarrassing. I'll just admit it on the front end. Embarrassing story. We made our bed the other day, and Jack got ecstatic because what did he say?
he said, oh, is life group coming over tonight?
Because in the mad dash of like cleaning the house like normal, he's like, wait, there's a reason we're doing this. But to see the excitement that hits his face of it's life group night, to go, wow, but like I feel those same feelings that you do towards it's life group night, but it's seeing that going, wow, okay, all of these rhythms, all of these practices, all of these things, they come together to develop something. And in the season of life that our group is in, it's making Jesus known in our children. And
I will say, I think life group is sometimes a starting point for people, because some people don't start talking about their faith, and this might be the first. If they weren't in a group in college or in high school, like in a youth group, this may be a first opportunity to pray out loud, or to just talk about anything that relates to their faith.
To what you were saying, Trent, I think it's a beautiful thing that you guys are modeling for your kids, because as I sit on the other end of the parenting journey, our kids grew up. Life group was a part of life. We always had group at our house. They were used to seeing at least once a week. People come over to our house. Our bonus room was full of people that we would study the word together, pray together, break bread together, all those things that it speaks of in Acts. But now that Hannah is married and has her husband and they have their own home, they are seeking to do that stuff as well already. And they're inviting us over to do this. And so they're just modeling what they've seen. Scripture tells us to train up a child in the way they should go. And so you're modeling, you're training, you're coaching. So that's one of the beautiful things about even serving, having life groups. When your kids see you serving together as a church, that's what we're supposed to do, is be a mirror of Jesus to them. And they see that within the life group setting, much more than just going to church. As we're in this series, we the church, we are church. They're seeing you be the church when they see the real stuff, the tears crying and groups, somebody staying later than usual, or you having to drop everything and, hey, our group's going to go do this for this person. That's what really changes them and makes Christ real and Christianity authentic to them, at least I feel like.
Well, it's interesting in the Gospels when Jesus sends his disciples out to share the gospel, to do ministry, he sends them out 2 by 2. He sends them out together. And Mackenzie, you actually have a great story of your group kind of making Jesus known together in the midst of rhythms of life.
So our group loves to go out to eat together. Just our normal go-to Mexican restaurant down the street. It was not even our whole group. We were out to dinner one night. Savannah is in our group and she had just come back from the DR. So we were super excited to hear all the stories and just get caught up, having not seen her. So we're having dinner. Our server was attentive, was there, and Savannah had learned some Spanish while she was in the DR. Super excited about it. And so she asked him her one phrase she had in Spanish, which was something along the lines of
¿Dónde está baño?
No, it was, do you eat apples?
Oh, okay.
I don't even know what it is, but I know that's what she was saying. And he responded, and he knew what she said, and she asked him what languages he speaks. And they went into this whole rabbit hole of language. Come to find out that he grew up near where she was just at in the DR, knew some of the people, all those things. And it came up that he had come to Moy a few times, and we asked why he hadn't come on a Sunday. And he said he didn't want to come alone. He was scared to come by himself. Kind of like you said, it's scary when you're by yourself, especially when it comes to faith. And so by the end of it, we had all left our phone numbers and said, hey, just let us know what service you're coming tomorrow. Someone will sit with you. Whether that's myself, Savannah, Rihanna, Olivia, like one of us will be there so you don't have to do this alone. He ended up coming. He has served. He did pictures for kids camp during the summer. Really dove headfirst into all of it because someone was willing to just take the time to say, hey, I'll sit with you.
Yeah. Now we're going to turn it over to your group to talk through what it looks like for your group to serve together, what it looks like for your group to reach out together and to make Jesus known together as a group. I also want to encourage you to take some time to talk about your activity for next week. Next week, we don't have a lesson. We actually planned a weekend in this series for your group to spend some time doing an activity tied to one of these 5 purposes, one of these 5 rhythms of group life. So we want to encourage you to make plans tonight for next week to worship together, to study and grow deeper together, to fellowship with one another together, to serve together, or to reach out and make Jesus known together. So take some time to make some plans for that activity next week. Thank you for being with us, and turn it over to your group now.